Tomomi desu. Or maybe the first time for you to join. Thank you so much. I'm missionary from OMF. Maybe my colleagues, some of them are here today. Thank you for joining. I'm doing member care for Singapore missionary actually, and also counseling ministry for Japanese and overseas Japanese online now, and also Singaporean in church NGO. That's my main ministry. So this team is quite, I never researched like that much before, but thank you for giving me this opportunity that I try my best to explain, but I think the truth is only God knows. Why is it difficult? God has a reason that the Japanese just maybe slower than other people. Yeah, so I divide into some section, historical and cultural factors, and then say lastly, more practical challenges in the Japanese life. So I start from the historical factors. So as you know, what's the major religion of Japanese people? Shinto and Buddhism. So Shinto was it's old as a Japanese culture, as you know. Shinto is originally the Aboriginal culture. And Buddhists came like around 6th century from Korea. It's called Kudara Kingdom. When the Buddhists came, actually the Shinto priests and so-called powerful clan in Japan, most powerful clan in Japan was not happy because they were using the Shinto to reign the Japan whole nation. But then another powerful clan used the Buddhism to control the whole nation. So as you see, the religion is always used by the king and the powerful people to control the nation. It is often like that. And then so the Buddhists came, and the powerful people in Japan, the so-called the clan, use it. And then they became the so-called the most powerful clan, Soga clan. And so she used the Buddhist as a Japanese region. But interestingly, at first they fight each other in a sense because the Shinto priests were afraid that they may lose job. But eventually, actually, very fast that they cohabit and help each other. So it's interesting to know that I also didn't know, but actually it's called the cohabit and strong tie between Shinto and Buddhist men since 6th century to Meiji era, which is 19th century. It's called the Shinbutsu Shugo. That means when you go to shrine, you see the Buddha statue inside the shrine. And then you go to the temple, then you see the shrine things inside, the Shinto things inside. So that's how they help each other. Not like other religions, they hate each other and they fight, but they are peacefully cohabit. And one thing, because the Shinto take care of the celebration, good things of the life, purification. So normally they do chanting for the birth of the life and the wedding and any purification for the new car or the entrance exam, all these things taken care by Shinto. But the Buddhists taking care of, they teach about moral, good and bad, and also death, before and after the life. So it's a different area they take care. So they didn't disturb each other's territory. That's how they had impacted the Japanese life, integrated, and it become the part of the Japanese mentality, the culture from 6th century until 19th century. I mean the so-called, until recent. So that's a basic thing. So, and the Shinto doesn't have a so-called a Bible or the doctrine, and the Buddhist, Japanese Buddhists also become very diluted along the way. And they don't really go deeper like a Thai Buddhist or the Laos, the Myanmar people, the Tibetan Buddhist is far more strict. So that's the one thing that there's a background that Shinto and Buddhist cohabit. So they were very peacefully doing that. And then, as you know, the Christianity came much, much later. So it was very late because, you know, only the Portuguese and the Spanish found a way to go all the way to Asia. Then they spread. So, okay, so Cheryl, would you start the YouTube? I want to show how the Christianity came to Japan and eventually banned. Let's watch the YouTube.
This is actually the most common question I've been getting. What is it like to be Christian in Japan? What's the perception? Any misconception on that? What are the common difficulties in Japan? Some of them seemed quite anxious, kinda afraid of being stigmatized or prejudiced. Actually, this was definitely true in the past. Christianity first came to Japan in 1549 at the southwest of Japan, Kagoshima. Some daimyo underwent baptism and became Christians, publicly allowing missionaries to perform their work in their territory, while they could secure profits from trading with the West. These Japanese are known as Kirishitan daimyo, and because of them, it was spreading rapidly at that time. 7 or 8% of the population in Japan were estimated to be Christians at maximum. But then, this guy came in, Hideyoshi Toyotomi. He was afraid that those Christian daimyo and foreign influence might destroy or dominate Japan, so decided to get rid of Christianity from Japan entirely, not just kicking out foreign missionaries of the country, but also even publicly executing Christian people like this. The government eventually issued anti-Christian order, and the religion became completely outlawed. That ban continued for more than 250 years. During the time, the government kept discouraging Christianity as publicly torturing or executing anyone Christian. And then Japan got into a strong isolation for 2.5 centuries, which could also reinforce it throughout the nation. Although Japan finally got reopened and the ban was removed eventually, the people remained quite skeptical, and Christianity hasn't been spread so much even to this day. So what's my point exactly? Is Japan still anti-Christian? Well, I don't think so. First of all, you can believe any religion, at least from a legal standpoint. It's not so many and big. You can...
Okay, so that's all. The rest of the video you can watch is in the by yourself later, because if you watch it, I don't need to talk. Yeah, and it's very encouraging video, so maybe you can watch when you have time. Yeah, somebody posted on the chat, the prayer chat, and then, oh yeah, so I don't need to talk. I talk, but then since I doing this, so as you see, the persecution and the ban from the 16th century to 20th century is a very long time. Yeah, until today, actually, like my uncle, he told me, "Oh, Tomomi, you become Christian is such a difficult religion," and because he knows that during the World War II, Christians were also persecuted, and his auntie was Christian, and he worried about me. He also said that, "Oh, you shouldn't be Christian." Because it's known and being especially in countryside, being Christian is difficult. Yeah. So okay. So as you know that maybe some of you have watched the movie Silence. Have you watched the movie Silence? So they talk about persecution for missionary and the Christians. So the time. Almost zero missionary in Japan for these centuries. Only the local evangelist. At the time only Catholic believers. Yeah, but later some of them have survived their faith without priest and any help from outside, and they had it's called the hidden Christians. They have kept their faith 7 generations. They passed down without any printed material, but they orally passed down their faith to the children, to grandchildren, 7 generations. At the time of Meiji era, when the country opened to the outside, and they met the priests from the French or whatever, then they cry out. They cry that, oh, they have endured and persevere for 7 generations, literally 250 years. And I God answered their prayers. Yeah, so that's the history. Anyway, the damage was made so much that generally, because of Japanese, although we didn't really go through this time, but we learn in the history, and all the people know that the Christianity was banned by this famous shogun. So the image is the Christianity is being Christian is so difficult in the history. Yeah. So even during the World War II, okay, after the Meiji era, the Christianity came again. The Protestant history started since then, and the church grew slowly this time. But when the World War II started, the government, okay, the Cheryl, would you open this site? Wikipedia, United Church of Christ in Japan. So the government, Japanese government, forced all the denomination of church put into together, like in China, government, everybody under the government church. So during the World War II, also, oh sorry, not this one. Never mind, sorry, close. Next one, this one, the United Church of Christ. On top, there's another. Oh yes, yeah. So all the denomination was forced into the one denomination the government could control. But then there are some denomination called holiness. In Singapore, terminology is like Armenian, like a Wesley Methodist, the Armenian group. They didn't join this government, so-called the false denomination. They didn't, and 100 over pastors and preachers were put into prison, and some of them had died. So again, during the World War II, people see that being Christian, you see, there's no benefit. You just persecuted, and the whole clan, your family will be bullied. If you're known as a Christian in Japan, the people see that the whole clan, your family, your children will be in trouble. So that's the image at the time. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. So can close. Okay. So that's the historical background. Of course, the holiness pastors and some other Christians persevere, and then there's some people they have a commemorial service every year, celebrating the survivors of this persecution. Also remember those Christians who were killed during the World War II because of their faith. Yeah. Then after the World War II, supposed to be, the good time for the churches to grow. But you say, how come? Because a lot of people ask Japanese Christian, after the World War II, okay, the America America helped Japan, in a sense, supposed to send a lot of missionaries, and then socially and financially and army-wise also, America was the model and then leading Japan. But the churches didn't grow like rapidly like other countries. Like many people compare Japan and Korea. People ask why Korean churches grow. So some researchers say that the Christianity in Korea spread among the blue collar people like farmers or fishers and the low society people. But the Japan, the Christianity spread among the high society, the high-end people, very educated. So actually you can find many Christian writers or politicians or or the famous people, doctors, and actually there are many. But you go to the countryside, farmers and fishermen, very, very few. Like while the Korea, there are many Christians in the blue collar people. Yeah, so that's the difference. I don't know why it stopped, didn't spread into the blue collar people. Maybe the one thing people say that the Japanese Bible, the terminology is very difficult to understand for not so educated people. While maybe the English Bible may be more straightforward. Yeah, that is maybe one reason a lot of people say. And also for after World War II, for Japan, America was like a model and a hero. Okay, America was an enemy for Japan last time because they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But then after that, okay, the mindset totally changed. So America is supposed to be the leading country, and then Japan supposed to follow America in every way. But then the many non-Christian Japanese friends asked me, how come American Christianity are like that? どうして戦争しますか? Why do they still fighting? They went to Vietnam War. You know, World War II for many of us is the end of the war. It's the last war. But for America, it's not end of the war. It's not the final war. They continue Vietnam War, Korean War, and then bomb the Afghanistan. For the Japanese non-Christian, they see as hypocrite. Many people told me, how come American Christians, they don't stop fighting? They kill the Muslim and they don't love and they don't forgive. And I think the one thing, because it's a rise of the humanism among the Japanese, the education, not so religious, the 宗教不信 and 離れ. That means we are like Japanese are more like doubtful about the disinterest in religions, especially because Japanese cults, the Buddhist cults had accident, the cutting accident, some of you may know. And so among the non-Christian Japanese, they have a big doubt about the religion and also disinterest. Maybe religion cannot help us. And I look at American Christians, are they really doing what the Bible says? A lot of friends ask me, and I find, wow, this is very challenging. Now the president election is going on also, also very controversial. Some Christians support Trump, some Christians don't. So how do you answer to Japanese Christian? For me, I think the religion and the politics should separate. Don't mix up. It's a personal thing, I think. Yeah. So because of the humanism, that the Japanese, a lot of Japanese are very humanistic. Yeah. So LGBT, Black Lives Matters, all these things are very big topic for the Japanese. You know, everyone has a right to live the way that they want, that kind of thing. And ecumenical movement, I don't know how many of you know this thing. Recently, the Pope met the Dalai Lama, you know, then all the religious leaders dialogue each other. Japanese people like this kind, ecumenical, and also inclusivism, right? That means every religion should have a kind of truth. Yeah, so we shouldn't criticize or exclude the kind of humanistic way of thinking. That's a very popular and main things among the non-Christian Japanese. Yeah, and many scandals among Japanese, the Christian leaders too. So it's also become stumbling block for the people. Yeah. So last time when I was reaching out to the Japanese mom as a missionary in Japan, some friend asked me at the time that America was bombing the Iraq, and then they asked me, why do they killing the Muslim? Why don't they love and forgive and help them? And then another time, she almost accepted Christ, but then she told me that she just cannot understand some Christian are doing this and that, I asked there's a missionary from America. They had a dog, and the dog was very old and had a sickness. And then the family needed to go back to America for home assignment or maybe finishing the mission. And the dog was almost going to die, but don't know when he's going to die. So the missionary family asked the vets to put the medicine to end the life peacefully. But the Japanese non-Christian friend was very shocked about this thing, because maybe because of the Buddhist background, that you shouldn't kill animal, you should take care of your pet, as a family until they die, the last breath, like that. So she, because of that, she said, more mulides, cannot take it. Yeah. So some of those things it's been very difficult. Okay. So there are some cultural factors too. Okay, maybe before that, do you have any question? I try not to talk too much, but I still have to talk. Sorry. Yeah, do you have any questions so far? I talk about historical factors. 大丈夫ですか? Hello?
I find it very interesting. You have enlightened me quite a lot on this matter. So now there's a lot of struggle, even for Japanese to become a Christians, whether they intellectually, spiritually. So I understand, especially the saddest part is the behavior of us as a Christians. And therefore they say, hey, you Christian also behave like that. How can I believe in your God? So that's a good lesson for us to rise to a challenge that, but in my personal way of sharing is that I don't focus on what other Christians do. I share with you the God that I believe, the God that loves you, not based your belief is in God, not on what other Christians do. Christians are all sinners. All of us here, say what you like, are sinners. And therefore we will have our mistake. So if a Japanese or anyone who focus on another Christians to build our faith or to, I think, after 10, 9 of them will be very disappointed. So that's my understanding of situations. But it's very good, the intellectual part, the Pope, the American type of Christianity, all sort of things, Yes, sorry.
Any question about the historical side? Okay. If not, then I move on.
Can I ask Tomomi-san, the 7 generations that you mentioned that were saved, it sounds quite significant, 250 years.
Yes.
Is there any other write-up about them? Or
there are so many, so many that you just go Google and hidden Christian in Japan. So recently later I will share more about them, because it's the heritage for the Japanese Christian. I find it's like Israel. We may keep remembering what God has done for them, right? In the history, God has delivered from them from Egypt and all these things. For Japanese Christian, I think we should remember all these things, that they have survived through 7 generations. This is really the treasure and heritage for us. So there are many articles and books. And then recently the Nagasaki, those area became a UNESCO heritage. That means their faith is considered heritage by UNESCO. So hallelujah. So that's very encouraging. I think about 2 years ago, later, if you have time, we can watch this. I also went to Nagasaki and I saw the rocks that underneath, they pray, secretly pray, and and orally pass down the way of prayer, because he's a Catholic, so they always pray the Santa Maria, the certain prayer, right? They have a catechism. So literally just memorize everything, memorize and pass down. It's amazing. Of course, along the way, the faith becomes syncretism, right? The bit diluted, and it become a bit of the Buddhism and the Shinto kind of thing, because a lot of Buddhist people protected the hidden Christian too. Yeah, that's a beautiful part of it. Yeah. So there are many articles. Yeah. Okay. So is any other question? If not, then I go culture factors. So as you know, the last month, if you join Japanese, most important value or culture is harmony. So you're supposed to do the same thing as others. When you dress like this, then you also should dress like this. You shouldn't be outstanding and different. That's a traditional value, and it can be beautiful, but it's also a bit like claustrophobic for some of the Japanese. So when you become Christian, sorry, and you are very different, you go to church on Sundays, and the people feel, hey, how come you don't join us? You are not harmonious. You don't join the CCA, you are not harmonious. You don't help cleaning the grave, you are not harmonious. Not wow. Yeah, then the Japanese is still very collectivism. So the family youth tie is strong compared to the Western country. And then we have also ancestors' grave issue. It's similar to Singapore, but for Japan, every family or clan have this kind of land that they have purchased long time ago, maybe grandfather's time on the left. So they have purchased, and they are supposed to pay the conservative fee to the temple or the landlord, and then you're supposed to ask the monks to come and chant during the Ghost Festival. So if you're the eldest daughter or the son, you're supposed to take over and lead and facilitate those Ghost Festival, all the things. Basically, for Japanese, the Ghost Festival is a time that everybody come together from the different part of the Japan, and then they clean and welcome the ancestor. So if you become Christian, how do you, decline some of the practice? Like when I became Christian, 16 years old, so my parents asked me, so that means you cannot join the Ghost Festival. I said, I still can join, but I cannot worship. But it's a bit weird feeling, arise, right? Because I go there and participate. I help cleaning and cooking and taking care of the niece and, the relative, but I don't worship. And they see me not harmonious. So later on, my parents say, maybe you're already old and adult. Maybe you don't need to come for the, Obon, so-called the Ghost Festival. So slowly, that's the way that the Japanese indirectly, okay, you don't need to, because you also find very difficult to be joined. So a lot of Christians feel very lonely and detached, from relatives. That's a challenge. But on the other hand, that most of the churches in Japan, they have grave that they purchase as with a donation. So the church has actually grave, and all the people's the vase and the ashes actually underneath. Yeah. So if you become the church member in Japan, actually you can ask to go in the church grave, and you don't need to pay so much of the maintenance fee. If you have to pay for the own clan grave, it's so expensive. Like I don't know, it's so expensive to pay for the maintenance fee. But you go into the church grave, it's very minimal because we share the land, in the whole church. So some Japanese pastor use this as an evangelistic tips that hey, you join because Japanese people worry about after death, when I'm going to go, because I cannot go into the Buddhist grave. So encourage them, hey, the church has grave and it's very cheap. The funeral also can be very reasonable, very peaceful, and you can join the church grave. So some of them, the older people, find, wow, this is good that you take care of my life and after death. It's a very practical things for the people. Yeah, okay. Then another reason, the number 3 is avoidance or uncertainty, the Japanese mentality. Last month I talked about this hosted the professor 5 dimension on natural culture, the national culture. So every culture that he compared, and then he has different dimensions like masculinity or individualism or blah, blah, blah. So one of it is the avoidance of uncertainty. So Japan is this red one. Means these people like greed is the top, right? They try to avoid any uncertain things. Like they don't want to change their culture. They don't want to change the tradition. They don't want to change the way of doing. So when the economy go down, the Lehman shock came, Greece was very slow to change the system, right? As you know, I don't know the economy so well, but maybe some of you can explain well. The Greece was very slow to change, and Japan also following very slow to change the system. The school is also not changing. I see my youngest son studying Japanese. He is studying the same thing as I was reading the textbook 40 years ago. He's reading the same thing. You know, nothing much has changed. And where is Singapore? Singapore is extremely on this side, means you are always ready to change. Government keep changing. So you guys in the church also, oh, this worship style is already, people will not come. People say, yes, let's change. Hey, the pipe organ is, oh, people find it's very boring. Okay, let's change. People are ready to change. But in Japan, it's not like that. It takes long time for the adjusting to the change. Like for example, I married to Singaporean 20 years ago. And then my husband purchased a small HDB. At the time, I had no CPF, so he bought with sister. And for Japanese, we don't buy the house when you marry. So I was so shocked. But after 1 year, he said, let's sell the HDB because there's another one sell and then change to the bigger one, nicer one. Then I was so shocked. I couldn't accept, because I don't know. Is it okay? Uncertainty, very afraid. Are you sure you can sell better next time? Are you sure you can sell this house? Then he said, it's okay. HCBs always can sell easily, very fast, very easy. But I didn't know, so I'm very afraid. Okay, so this is the Japanese people's mentality. That's maybe also, affect the church culture. The good things that they keep the very good tradition of the church culture, but on the other hand, maybe may not reaching out to the needs of the young people or the next generation or the society needs. And then lastly, the Shinto's optimistic worldview and the shame culture. I think a lot of you know shame culture. So Shinto has no absolute. They don't talk about right and wrong. It's the evil things not come from you. Is the dirt that you corrected from somewhere. Okay, so what the priest say basically purification of the evil spirit from inside outside of you. Last time in my family, I was the first Christian, only Christian. So there's something bad happened in my family. And then my mother asked the priest from the shrine to come and do chanting. And then the priest say, oh, your house underneath, the underground, there's a cursing things inside underneath. What is that? Maybe like 200 years ago, there's a cow slaughtered in injustice. The cow killed, and the cow's evil spirit, the cursing spirit was still there. So the priest interpreted this way and then chanted and purified. So for my house, my parents' house. But actually before that, my mother came to church with me and she accepted Christ and said the sinner's prayer. Then she see around in the church, hey, it's so simple, nothing, no decoration. And At the time, there's no pastor in my church because the missionary just left, and then there's no Japanese pastor the 3 years. And then she came to church that time, and then she thought that not enough, and then she wanted the kind of interpretation. Something was disturbing the house. Yeah, so because of the Shinto or the the way of the people think that evil spirit is somewhere there. So in Japan, people talking about power sport everywhere. You go to this lucky place and then you get empowered, this very popular. And the power stone, power things is very popular. It's like a bit like Kun Sui in Singapore. And so they are taught to be like human beings are fundamentally good. So when you talk to them about sin, it's very offensive. So don't do that immediately. Don't talk about you have sin and you need to be forgiven. What sin? Is very offensive. Normally, to the stranger, don't talk about religion first of all for the Japanese. So you talk about sin, even more offensive because this culture or Shinto is fundamentally you are good. Yeah, then it's very optimistic. In a sense, very pragmatic because Shinto, I say, they don't talk about before and after life, just good, beneficial things about the life. That's why the Buddhists came, talk about before and after death, it was okay for Shinto. But Christianity, because it's a truth, so they cover everything, right? Not only the life that we live, but where we come and where we are going. We have this theology or the truth that is, the truth is offending the not truthful things. So of course, people can be offended. But it's not that we don't share the truth, but we share the truth, but how we share with them, we can be creative. We don't talk in the offensive way. We still can share with them. Yeah, then of course, the shame culture. So this person, Hiraide, same surname as me, professor, research about this. If you have time, you can read, very interesting. So in the point of ethics, it is said that Japan has a shame culture and the West is a sin culture. The Japanese fear the most of all to be estranged from the society, excluded by society by putting on shame or dirt, while Westerners fear to be deserted by God through committing a sin. So for Japanese, whether we have committed sin or not is not the big deal. Whether we have troubled the community and excluded from the circle of friends or circle of community or family, that's the shame. And that's why being the Christian is kind of, you have to step up from the community. You step in and stand firm in God that I'm different, but I can. The faith, you need a lot of courage. For me also, I didn't know it's such a difficult thing. I just believe and then realize that it's so difficult. Realize that my relative become so a bit distant from me. Some of the friends that I say I'm a Christian and then they keep some distance. Yeah, but you have to bear this thing, the challenges. Yeah, so, okay, so that's the cultural side. Do you have any question? If not, maybe at the end of the everything, maybe I ask. So this is a quiz. What are the 4 major challenges for the Japanese Christians in life? Just not talking about the history and the culture, but how about the practical life? Anyone? What do you think are the major obstacles? Yeah, obstacles for the Japanese life to be Christian or go to church. Let's say you are interested, but these things block. You need to go to church or
strong family or community ties.
Community ties, yes. Maybe one more, 2 more, anyone? Okay, I show you this one. Any guess?
Marriage.
Marriage. What marriage?
Trying to find maybe a Christian wife or Christian husband.
Christian wife. Okay, I thought it's easy to find Christian. Okay, yeah, Christian husband.
I think sorry, I think the major difficulties for them is the Buddhism, because in the family, in every Japanese family, they have this author, Japanese author. So I as a to say as the I think they need to take up their responsibility to do the kind of ritual every now and then. So that's one of the major difficulties, especially if the person who received Christ is the only child or whatever. So it poses difficulties for them.
Yeah. How about these two photos?
Friendship or loneliness?
Friendship or loneliness?
Yeah, because I think usually there's so few of them. So usually they are the only one in where they are. So they don't have much fellowship and partnership in terms of belief.
Okay. Maybe this might be a bit challenging, is it?
Conformity. They want to be
harmonious.
Yeah, they want to be harmonious. That, okay, you wear it, I also wear it. Something like follow the trend.
To do with the cultural rigidity, like you don't embrace change, right? So young people also to stick to the same things, traditions from the past. Is it? You mentioned something like that.
I see. Okay. So you see this the friendship and tie. Okay, so okay, when you like for me, I went to Sunday school when I was 7 years old. I come from the non-Christian family, but my family said, okay, Sunday nothing to do, you can go to church. So I attended the Sunday school alone. I walked there 15 minutes to church every Sunday, and it was very fun. But first challenge came, which is CCA. It's called Bukatsu. So I joined the sports Bukatsu, the volleyball, and every Sunday is a practice and game day. So I stopped going to church because I want to be the part of the circle, right? Part of the Bukatsu. If I don't practice, then what can I join the game? And I want to be. So I stopped going to church for 3 years in secondary school. So a lot of Christians, lots of Christian home children also, they happily grown up in the Sunday school generally. But when the secondary school come, they join the Bukatsu, the so-called CCA, and the sports. Every sports practice on Sundays. So a lot of them stop coming to church. So that's where actually they should continue and then become the part of church, right? So a lot of churches lose children, youth, because of CCA. Like my friend, they are very afraid that the children go to sports bukatsu because it's becoming like yakuza for them. Please don't choose a sports bukatsu because you cannot come to church. So the Christian family in Japan educate children, choose the CCA, something that not disturbing your worshiping God on Sundays. Some of them, yes, but some of them find, why not? I want to play the volleyball, want to play the baseball or soccer. So they, and then along the way, of course, influenced by the outside and stop going to church. Another thing, many of you say that, like for me, get blessing from parents for baptism was one thing. A lot of Japanese, because of the grave issue, how to draw boundary from local festival, golf festival, not easy to get blessing from parents. My parents told me it's okay to have faith, but don't go so deep. Any religions, you go extreme, it's become dangerous and you become weird in the society. But today I go so extreme, I become even missionary, and I become maybe so weird, so different in the society. So but my mother became Christian. Yeah, and my father is actively working in the Christian NGO, and I think my father is almost Christian, I believe. Yeah, so over the years, God has changed my family, but initially very difficult. Like many Japanese find hard to get blessing from parents. Attending church is okay, but baptism, and a Japanese church, baptism is a sign of the kind of salvation. They don't say that, we don't say that, but for for Japanese, the churches, okay, you're Christian because you get baptized. But the other countries, I think that it's not about the baptism. It's more like accepting Christ. Then you are Christian. Yeah, so it's a bit of hard for the Japanese people because the baptism is a one cross, a big cross to very hard to cross over. Then the finding job, that this photo is finding job because Japan is a drinking society, and then working on Saturdays, Sundays, working long hours. So finding the job that you can keep your Sunday worship and demanding duty, and Japanese church is so small, so you got to help a lot. So hard to balance, and keeping your accountability is also challenging. So I was in the Christian circle in the university time. Many of my friends stopped going to church after they become that they started working in the very corporate famous companies. It's just two different culture. Then finally, last but not least, finding Christian partners is difficult. Again, some of my friends, Christian friends, stopped going to church because they married non-Christian, and that's very difficult. But my church, the missionary, said that it's okay to marry a non-Christian husband, but they need to do the marriage counseling, Christian marriage counseling for 20 sessions, and agree that she can go to church after they marry. You get the approval, blessing, and then the pastor bless the marriage. Yeah, so but a lot of Japanese churches traditionally they banned, they say cannot marry non-Christian. That's it, and then you marry, you don't come to church, something like that. Yeah, very very strict traditionally. Now I think it's much more open. Yeah, I think Singapore church also, my church also, okay, do the Bible study and a Christian marriage, premarital counseling. So for me, what has helped me to be Christian, being Christian, and I encountered God in early days, Sunday school, ministry. Yeah, that was, I think, helpful because when you know the God in your early days, like Bible say, is really more our way of worldviews and way of thinking. And I have many true Christian friends that I can share anything and pray for one another throughout my life. So from KGK or youth group, I have many Christian friends that we can share and not judging each other and criticizing. And then I read a lot of many Christian and Western Christian literatures to know how to overcome the challenges, because in the Bible they don't say that, oh, should what to do with all these small little things. It's a basic guidance, right? But how actually, daily life challenges, we can read a lot of Christian literatures. And then lastly, I put the kingdom of God first in every area of my life. So, okay, cannot find Christian husband in Japan. I found outside Japan. It's okay because and I didn't know my husband so much, but he loved God and he burdened for mission. That was kind of enough for me. And then okay, because we grown up in the Varsity Christian Fellowship, so a lot of values that we have in common. Yeah, then I share that remember what God has done for the Japanese Christian in the history. As I say, that the hidden Christian managed to keep and pass down their faith through 7 generations. This is a miracle that UNESCO registered as a heritage. So their faith that survives through, this is what God has done for Japan. So yeah, just now the Hiraga, the church that you could see, the church in behind the shrine, the God has still survived through. And then also listen to the Christians' testimonies, survived through after the World War II, during the World War II, there are so many. Those are the heritage that we should keep remembering, just like the Israel people keep remembering what God has done in the Psalm. They say God has delivered us from pit. So I think the Christians in Japan also should remember many times, actually in the history, don't look at what the challenges that we have today, but in the long history that God actually has delivered Christians. Yeah, there's a persecution, there are many difficulties, but God has delivered and preserved. We have remnant. Yeah, then there are, although the Christianity is small, but the Bible verses are quite famous for, very well known for the normal Japanese people. Like for example, I saw this from the Christianity Today, the Japanese version. That is Hanyu-san, right? The famous figure skater. And this lady is actually, she's a cancerous, a swimmer, Olympic swimmer. Both of them say cited the Bible verse, there's no temptation or the challenges that cannot overcome, because God is faithful, who will not allow you to be challenged beyond what you are able. So they both of them cited the same Bible verses, but we don't know whether they are Christian. Maybe no, but they use as it is known, very well known kind of proverb for the daily life in Japanese. There are many verses that the Japanese people use in daily life. So, and we have Japanese Christian celebrities. Celebrity are the big advertisement. This Taekwondo Olympic athlete also became pastor. And then this doctor also very famous. And this doctor also recently killed in Afghanistan. He was working for the people in Afghanistan. So a lot of celebrity, this Ishiba-san, also Christian minister. So there are many artists, celebrities, NGO, Christian doctors, counselors. So we have treasures, we have heritage. So we should remember those people, and God has preserved. And then lastly, I want to encourage all of us that preach the word, to be prepared in season and out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. I think for the Japanese, I want to emphasize for this great patience and careful instruction. Though it's not what you say, but how you tell the gospel with Japanese, because so that they will not easily offended and they find very weird and scared. Be patient and careful. God can save Japanese. Yeah, so that's all. There's any question and comments, maybe the rest of the time, and then maybe closing prayer. Anton-san, is that okay?
With very interesting. Any questions or
I think
any
the
contribution?
The comment I want to make for Tomomi is that I feel God's hand has been on your life from a very, very young age. You are a unique person that God has touched and saved and prepared you to reach Japanese in your time. It's extraordinary. At 7 years old, you walk to church, and there are hundreds and thousands and millions who have never heard the message. So it's a grace of God. Yeah.
Yeah, grace of God. Yeah.
Well, actually, what made you walk to church on your own, Tomomi, at 7 years old?
Yeah, so the missionary from America, few of them set up a small church near my house in the apartment, like double-story apartment, and the second floor they started. And then at the time, like 1917, right, no entertainment, no Nintendo yet. So, Sunday, we just go to park and play. So somebody told me, hey, there's a church, and you go there, you can get a beautiful card with a Bible verse and the picture, maybe last time you had this kind of thing, right? So they give you, when you just bring UN, like 10 cents for donation. Wow, okay, just bring the 10 cents and make the UN, 10 yen, and I can get the snack and can get the card. And the card was so beautiful. I like the beautiful things. So because of that, and then I went there, the teachers are extremely kind. I thought I never had met such a very kind Japanese. And in the primary school, actually, they were bullied in my school. So I was bullied. I also bullied. I really bullied, and I was bullied. Yeah. So in the Sunday school, I told my teacher, the teacher was doing the correspondence note, like the notebook she gave me. Every week, she write to me, and then I write to her. She was such a devoted Sunday school teacher. I think the Sunday school is so important. So I told my teacher that my friend bullied me. She said my leg is fat and short, the kind of things. Then I'm very sad. And my brother bullied me. What do I do? And then she say, Jesus, pray for enemy. Let's pray for your enemy. She wrote to me. Then I started praying. And then you know what? God changed my mindset. I didn't care after all what they say, what they do to me. I didn't care. It's not that they change, but I changed. Then they also not interested in me because the bullier bully because they want to see the reaction. I said, okay, I don't care because maybe this God say that just pray, bless the enemy. But I was so shocked because at the time in Japan or even today, nobody say bless your enemy. You say just endure, gaman, tahan, or report the teacher, or protect yourself, or run away. That may be what the social worker say. Nobody say pray for your enemy. And I thought it should be true. It's so weird, so strange, so something like touched my heart. So I started my journey, but along the way, of course, up and down, many mistakes, and I did. Yeah. Okay, so that's my testimony.
Thank you. That's a very good point because a lot of people there during their teenagers or the schools have been bullied in the church. So for us Christians, as what you said, we should pray for enemy. But the worldly standard, I'm sorry to say, we will fight back. Bully me, I bully you. I mean, there's a way we handle. I was not a Christian, so whoever bully me, of course I will fight back so that you won't gonna bully. But I like your way of our Christian practice, the way God intervened through your prayer. It doesn't change your enemy, it changes you. And that solves the problem. So from that time, you don't bully. So it's a good teaching to all those people in the school get bullied.
Yeah, the Sunday school was very good for me. Yeah, it's the early days that I encounter God. Yeah, because my faith was very, very immature. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Silva? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Sorry, just want to ask you, Tomomi. So for missionaries going to Japan, is reaching young families a very useful strategy with children and all that? Would they come to Sunday school?
Yeah, it's important because the young people we can impact more. Compared to the working adult, they already has the worldview, fixed mindset. That maybe harder, but bringing the children to church is not easy in Japan because nowadays the religion, they are very spectacle. So you open the church for the party for the children. Not many children can come. You must always work with the Christian family, the Japanese Christian family, that their friends can come because them. My generation, anybody just go, because like people generally trust each other. So I just went into the church without any, my parents didn't check. But nowadays the parents check through, right? What kind of places my children go? 7 years old, it's like so dangerous. Yeah, so So what with the Japanese Christians family that they bring their friends. Yeah, so the partnership and in the church normally, through the friendship.
Tomomi-san, there's a question for you in the chat by Takano-san. How to share the gospel without offending to the Japanese?
Offending. So as I say, don't talk about the sin immediately. Build the friendship. I call that, take your own time to build a friendship, care for them. You can pray for them. Japanese, they accept your prayer. Yeah, but when you talk about confrontation, you shouldn't confront the person that your friendship is not strong enough. Yeah, that's in the culture part that the last month we talked about. The confrontation is very difficult for Asian people. You confront somebody, it's the end of the friendship, almost the end of the friendship. So confrontation, you're talking about the sin is like a confrontation. You know, you have a sin that you have to say sorry to God. Yeah, so this part of the message, you can pass the book or indirectly share, but not from your mouth, but directly through the tract, but don't ask them for decision. So as I said last month, don't ask them yes or no. Do you believe? Then they have to say yes or no, right? Don't ask this kind of closed question, open-end question. How do you feel about the message you just heard? どう思いますか? どうですか? Do you feel peaceful? Do you have any question? Those things are okay, not offensive. And then you just listen. Yeah, how do you feel? Oh, Christianity. Yeah, maybe I used to go to mission school actually. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, I used to listen to Christian song like Amazing Grace. Oh, I used to watch the Christian movie. You know, I watched this. Oh, my relative actually Christian. They will tell you. And then, so don't ask for the decision or, yes and no kind of question. Yeah.